What are our favorite comic book movies?
Top 5.
Top 5 comic book movies. We had made the agreement that we do not count the MCU in this. We can count one MCU movie.
Now, we have a couple qualifications for that.
Right.
Because we're not going to make the list of our top 5 comic movies with the MCU as free reign because...
Or minor MCU.
Yeah, most of them, a lot of them would be MCU. We think the MCU is easily the strongest superhero comic book movies coming out.
Agreed.
So what we're doing for the MCU, and we think Endgame is visually the most comic book and best spectacle of that. So that's our favorite of the MCU movies. But we're allowing one slot for MCU that is a solo movie that stands. It's not the big, you have to see the entire series to really be invested in this movie. So
right.
We'll do our favorite single MCU each, and then we'll do
the other 4 as go.
Yeah.
I'm going to start only because I want to piggyback off of something you mentioned earlier about how DC took themselves too seriously with their movies. So again, we're listing our 5 favorite movies, only one standalone from MCU because
we want to talk about other things,
right?
Other comic movies.
So, but with what you said, DC take themselves too seriously. And then here lately trying to ease up. I recently watched Shazam with my family, and it's great. Like it's number 5 on my list. It's fun, and the entire movie is like you have this villain. Dr. Sivana is this like he belongs in the DCEU. He's mean. He's going to make the wizard pay, and he's all gruff and meanwhile Billy Shazam is just like, oh my God, I'm a superhero. And just the comedy between him and his family is great, and it to me shows how DC really is like saying, okay, this is what we were doing, this is what we should have been doing, and we're going to smash those together and show you how this is going to be our new normal. And I mean, if you haven't seen Shazam, see it. It's a lot of fun.
I haven't.
Me, my wife, my 4 kids sat and watched it, and we loved it. We laughed. It was really exciting. So that's my number 5. Yours?
I don't actually have them listed in that kind of
fine.
order. I'll just go right now with my DC movie since you went with your DC movie. So, The Dark Knight. We were talking about Ledger earlier. I think that Batman is the character that is supposed to be dark and brooding, and that movie is dark and brooding, and it's just the music. When they, especially in that opening where there's like scratching noises when they're doing the whole bank robbery, introducing the Joker, his theme is just nuts, and it's so offsetting, and it makes you very uncomfortable. Some of the little things, like Heath Ledger improvised the slow clap for Gordon when he accepted commissioner. Yeah,
that's
when
brilliant.
He was in the jail, and it's just creepy, it's different, and it's really sad that what happened to Ledger did, because he was a very good talent. He was finally getting past, you could tell he had been working similar to what Pattinson's been doing. He had been working past the teen heartthrob romantic comedy status, and he was getting into being more serious, and his Joker was great. It's a shame he did it, and we would have had a better finale for those Batman movies had he not died, because they didn't want to recast the role, and they had envisioned the Joker having some part in the final movie. but they couldn't recast Ledger in that universe because
he destroyed it.
Yeah. So that's my DC movie on the list.
All right, so I made a mistake, and I just corrected while he was talking. So I had 2 DC movies. I fixed it though.
Oh, you can have 2 DC.
No, because actually this movie fits better.
I just ended up having one.
Yeah, this ends up fitting better only because it's a bit personal for me, more so than the movie that I had. That's TMNT. Not the original movie, but the animated one that came out in 2009.
Yeah, that's
the first movie that I ever took my kids to the movies to see. I took my oldest, Nick, and Johnny to see that, and it's going to be kind of sappy. I'm trying not to cry, but it was the first time Johnny called me Dad, and it was a good movie. But that movie, I loved it. It was so much fun.
It was a good movie.
So Raph and Leo's fight on the roof in the rain. Oh my God! Oh, that fight is so good.
Normal versions of Turtles, most of the time, I don't think Raph would win.
Right.
Normally. But where they put specifically Leo, but Leo had been off doing his own thing, and the specific kind of anger they gave Raph for that fight, there was no way Leo was going to win that fight, that specific one. Normally, when they both had it more prepped for it, I think Leo would normally win the fight, but there was no way he should have won. Leo was being way too cocky, thinking he was just...
It's not only that. No shade. But if you've ever fought a brother, there's a certain attitude you have. I fought both my brothers, okay? Love you guys together. But I fought both of them. And never have I wanted to hurt my brothers. Not for real. They're my brothers. Love them. And in that moment, Raph forgot that. He genuinely lost control. He was going to kill Leonardo. And you could see it on his face when he broke his swords. He was going to end Leo. And he realized it. That's when he realized, this is my brother. And that's when he took off. But yeah,
I like that movie had the Black Betty song.
Yes.
That was a great placement for, whoa, Black Betty, Rambit.
That movie's definitely another.
I watched it for the first time in a while. I saw it in theater 2 weeks ago. No, it's further than that.
That was 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
I watched it with Zeke.
It was about 4 or 5 months ago, but it had been a while, and I watched it, and yeah, it's a good one. I liked how they were like sort of doing, this movie takes place after the original 3 because they had throwback little things.
And to me, this movie shouldn't have been called TMNT. It should have been called YMNT. Because it was Young Adult Mutant Turtles. Because at this point, I don't think they're still teenagers. I think they're like early 20s, don't know what to do with their lives. They're ninja mutants. What about you?
And Captain America was Casey Jones.
Oh, Chris Evans was Casey Jones.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. All right, so what's your next one?
My next one, well, I'll go with the lighthearted, more, and a lot of people don't remember it's a comic movie, Men in Black.
That's a comic book movie?
Uh-huh.
I did not know that.
Uh-huh. Very, very indie comic, not very well known, but that was back when they were first starting to pull from different things. And yeah, Men in Black. And before we did this, I brought up a list of I wanted to go through all the different comic movies because I didn't want to be stuck with just having superhero on different ones. And I love the original Men in Black. Like Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith, they're the perfect straight man jokester foils for each other.
Oh, so good. Agreed. That was a good choice, Monty. All right, we'll save those two for last. My next one is X2. X2 to me, if you don't know, X2 is X-Men United. It's the sequel to 2000's X-Men. X2 was the first sequel that I ever watched that outdid the original.
It added a lot more mutants. It added a lot more. It got a bigger budget so it could show off the powers a bit more.
Right.
It let Wolverine go more loose.
Oh
We
my
never
God.
fully see him go loose until Logan, basically, is when
Right.
we see him go loose as he should. But
The whole mansion scene with Wolverine, I remember watching it in theaters and like, oh my gosh, so good.
Magneto, McKellen's Magneto isn't the most dangerous looking man, but just
He's the most dangerous character in the movie.
he is so.
Yes.
And I love, and they continued this in some of the later. They did it in X2, or not X2, in X-Men First Class. They did it, and they did it in
Days of Future Past.
Days of Future Past, where reused the trope a bunch. But I just love the initial trope of he comes into the big bad of this movie, sees that they're manipulating Xavier to use his powers to wipe out all mutants, and he's just like, this is a good idea, except for it shouldn't be mutants. Now it's targeting heroes, and he's like, I'm done, I'm leaving.
Right. Right.
And it became First Class. Magneto turned the missiles around, throwing them back at him. Days of Future Past, Sentinels rebuild them to be under his control. It became more of a theme, but that was the initial where he comes in, he's like, he's not a hero. And he just comes in, he's like, yeah, no, do my thing now.
Right. That movie was just so much fun. Yeah. So that's my number 3. And again, these aren't in any specific. Mine are. Mine are actually in specific order. Come to think about it. But
I'm gonna go with a very serious one that it's actually, I've never gotten around to reading the initial graphic novel, which people get pissed. Like, a lot of people, they put this novel up, it's one of those that's so high that people like look down upon the movie, and I'm not big.
Oh.
There are some things that I don't like reading when I enjoy the movie so much. I'll get around it eventually. Like, one of my favorite movies, Shawshank Redemption. I've never read the short story because I just love that. That's not a comic.
pause. I don't think it's the one you're thinking about
It's not Watchmen.
because he's read Watchmen.
I've read Watchmen.
I'll say, like, if
That's what I thought at first, and I'm like, no, he's read Watchmen.
like with Watchmen,
I've read
if you watch
Watchmen.
that movie, you pretty much read the movie.
No, you
Ooh.
haven't.
Close to. A lot of it is shot for shot.
There are sequences, but
The
that
end,
movie,
the end is the whole thing that really messes
that
up.
the movie gets a lot of the overall visuals, but it loses all the subtlety.
Yeah.
And a lot of the important character work is completely lost because Zack Snyder only cares about visuals. He doesn't care about story the same way.
And
That's all of his
And the
movies.
end lost its muster, to me at least, because throughout the movie, they did it in the movie and they did it in the comics, like Dr. Manhattan is presented as he's American.
Yes, that was my biggest.
So
that
for
was my
him
biggest issue with
to
the
do
movie.
that would just unite the whole world against America.
Yep.
Not unite the whole world against extraterrestrials.
That's my same argument with the movie version of it.
That is the.
I
only
don't
thing
care
that
if he
really fucks
destroyed a couple American cities when he did the whole thing. That universe, he's so tied in. There's no way you can tell me the rest of the world doesn't go after for America. No way. That is my specific big story point issue. There's that, and my favorite line from the comic gets ham-fisted into the movie, into another character's mouth, that loses all importance. And I don't even think it was in the original. It might have been in the extended cut of the movie. But there's the scene where Ozymandias is all happy and he's like ecstatic, and Dr. Manhattan comes back in and sees him cheering and all that, and he's content. I've saved the world. I did it. And that's how the movie ends him, is on that I did it note. And Manhattan comes in and he's like, I did it. And he was like, I can't remember the exact line at the moment, but it's basically nothing ever really changes. Everything keeps staying the same. And he basically put the bug in Ozymandias' ear that he didn't do it. Things are humanity's gonna fight each other. He didn't save it in the way he thought. And so the very last shot you have because of that of Ozymandias is him there in shadow, kind of down. he didn't really, like, he got this character who's basically a god, told him, no, you really didn't do anything. And that scene, that the line of dialogue, they liked it so much, but they put it in, is it Sally?
Jupiter.
Sally Jupiter, was that the daughter? Sally was the daughter, right? I can't remember. Yeah, they put it in Silk Spectre talking to Night Owl when they were leaving visiting her mother, where she goes, oh, well, I think John would say, and then she says the line exactly. But it has no importance there. It feels like somebody complained, that line needs to be in there, but it lost all of its importance. And that was, like, there was an art contest, and I remember I did a whole piece on Dr. Manhattan where I had that as the quote in it, because it was a Watchmen art contest. Spoiler, I didn't win because everybody has a hard-on for Rorschach and Rorschach artwork because everybody likes the emo dark character. But I've read that one, so but it is another Alan Moore story I'm talking about. But the movie I'm specifically talking about is V is for Vendetta. That I think...
Remember the 5th of November.
The gunpowder treason and plot. I know of no reason...
Is it 5th or 6th?
It's 5th.
Yeah.
I know of no reason why the gunpowder treason should ever be forgot. I think I got
It's
it.
a good
right.
movie.
It's been a while. There was a time, and I do, if I realize it, I do try to. I'm maybe not on the 5th of November, but I do try to watch it in like the
We should
first
make that
week of
like a
November.
thing.
But it's there's differences. Like from what I've heard, and I will read the graphic novel eventually, it makes it much more muddied, and he's much more viewed as a terrorist in the book. Now, in the movie, he's much more, you identify him, even though he's crazy, you identify with him, especially for Americans seeing the government controlling everybody like that, going against them, we identify him as the hero. Mm-hmm. But as an adaptation of the hero movie, it's got a lot of good fight sequences. It has balls. I never would have said I always thought we were actually going to get a good look of his face in the movie. The whole time I'm like, you were so used to seeing under the mask, and we never went under the mask.
That's something that I really liked about that movie.
Yeah.
Especially with him casting for that time, relatively big name.
Yeah, it was after The Matrix.
And to not even show his face.
Agreed.
Yeah, but
it made the movie
he
better
wasn't
for
even
it.
the first choice for that character. They had someone else that they recast and got Hugo Weaving because the one actor kept taking the mask off.
yeah, the one actor wanted his face. I remember hearing that. But yeah, so I really, V is for Vendetta, I put on my list. It's John Hurt as the prime minister.
So good. Yes.
And then when they did the whole little TV show, like making fun of him, that start was hilarious. But then when they came right after and beating him down, and it was just that movie. That was a dark movie, but but you're with it. Like when you got to the end, and like when everybody's pulling off the masks, and where it's the masks, everybody's under it, and you're with, and they're pulling up the masks, and you're seeing all the dead characters because now everything succeeded, so they're sort of being vindicated, or like they are part of this plan that like how things are, and it was great. The problem is there have been too many people, and it's gonna happen because it was more of a political like thriller, but you have the people trying to take on, and they're using that mask all the time in politics now. People are trying to use it.
Anonymous.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But as the movie itself, I thought it was great.
Alright.
I'm doing my MCU next.
Are you?
Yes.
Nah, mine's
Okay.
my last.
Okay.
So my next one was my favorite movie for the last 7 years.
It's longer than that.
Has it been?
I think it came out when I still lived in Savannah.
But I didn't see it right when it came out.
Oh.
I actually, the first time I saw it was Kavi was born. So, last almost 10 years. It's been 10 years since that's my favorite movie.
Time's flying.
And research.
Okay, 2010. So Kavi was still a baby when it came out. I saw it a year later. No, I saw it when Zeke was a baby. Wrong kid. It happens. Wrong kid. Because we were living in the apartment when I first saw it, and I remember I was holding Zeke when I was watching it. You remember? Because you wouldn't come out and watch it. Because you were living with me at the time. Okay, you don't remember. Anyway, that movie is Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Love that movie. The soundtrack, the characters. Dudes, lady dudes.
This is your second movie that has Chris Evans in it.
Damn. Do I got a hard one for Chris Evans?
A little bit.
It's America's ass.
Michael Cera as Scott was just awesome. Like, there's not a character in that movie I don't like. Like, I love them all. The soundtrack especially is great. Love the soundtrack. I would listen to the soundtrack like more than I would listen to Rent soundtrack. Like, yeah. Like, I would. I'm hearing noises and I'm... That shit goes hard.
This man loves his Rent soundtrack too.
I do. Like, I haven't listened to Scott Pilgrim in a while because my wife and my kids got tired of hearing it. So, and they all love Rent, so they wouldn't mind hearing that one. So, but yeah, Scott Pilgrim versus the World. It doesn't take itself serious, and like it's fun, and it's all about love, and that's what I liked about it. Is like I've seen movies now. Like the last movie that I watched that just ripped my heart to shreds was The Hate You Give, and I don't like watching movies like that anymore. Like I really don't. Like it just takes it out of me. Like I just want to watch fun, you know. So Scott Pilgrim vs. the World was exactly what that. I've seen it like 84 times. Like I would put it on. Like you put movies on in the background to like just watch while you're doing something else. I would stop what I was doing just to watch the movie. Like I was like, okay, this is on. It doesn't matter about this. How did you finish laundry? Shh, Scott Pilgrim's on. Like it's that kind of movie. So yeah, that's no, and it's my number 2 favorite movie of all time. It just got upended by Endgame. Endgame.
So, of course, Endgame. So on me, I'm saving my other movie for last. So my favorite besides Endgame of the MCU, and there's a couple that are really close. His favorite is like slightly below, but it's so close. Like for cultural significance, his is actually higher. But for me, the cohesion on story, this one slightly beats it out, and that's Captain America: Winter Soldier. And we keep coming back to some of the same things in this one. We were talking about Man of Steel earlier. And Man of Steel we called basically a Batman movie with Superman. And that's where it got the character wrong, is that version of Superman is not a beacon of hope. And no matter, when you go out of a Superman movie, to me, I never grew, like, I watched the old one when I grew up, and I've seen that, but the idea has been always more in my head than the actual, because the old one wasn't a spectacle for me when I saw it, because it was cheesy, because it was 20 years old at that point whenever I got around seeing it as a kid. But it's very similar to that. It's very similar to The Martian and Apollo 13. Is when I go out of a Superman movie, I feel like I should have hope, and hope for humanity, hope for mankind, and that's because that's how he views that the character of Superman is supposed to be that beacon. He's this powerful being, but he's working toward hope. That movie dwelled in the darkness and took Superman into that darkness. He was dark in that movie. He was not the beacon of hope. Captain America: Winter Soldier, he goes into darkness. He's can't trust anybody, political subterfuge, it's a dark movie. His best friend is a mass murderer for another country, mind controlled. It's really dark. But he never loses his conviction.
Preach on it, Roth.
He is hopeful.
Hopeful.
That is Captain America.
Has Shadrach, Meshach, and that Billy Goat. Ooh.
He's not as powerful, but he is the parallel of Superman. That's why when they did Amalgam in the 90s, Superman and Captain America combined into one character. Amalgam. Because that they have the same ideals. They are working toward that. And that's why one fails and one succeeds. And this succeeded so well, putting him through the ringer, but keeping him true to character the whole time. And it was just, when he was like, I'll see you at the end, everything he had with Bucky was just so, that fight was so gut-wrenching.
It was like a brother fight should be.
Okay, I'll go first.
I think I do need a moment from my preach.
Yeah. Preached on it, Roth. Preached on it. All right, so one thing that we agreed when we started this channel is we wouldn't get personal, or we wouldn't get political. I'm going to have to take a smidge of that, set it aside, because this movie, to me, the cultural significance personally outweighs that.
Yes.
So my favorite MCU movie, aside from Endgame, Endgame's #1, but we can't count that. Black Panther. I've been a nerd my entire life. I used to it was something personal. I didn't really run around playing with action figures. I was raised in a household where, my dad was a man's man. We've had this discussion. So, I was a nerd on my own. I remember imagining I was Superman, Batman, watching all the cartoons, imagining I was these characters, but I could never relate to them. I could never relate to Bruce Wayne, Tony Stark. I am a black male in America. I can't relate to those characters. For the first time in my life, I was proud of seeing how my people was being represented in a superhero movie. Think back, Blank Man, Meteor Man, Blade, Mantis. If y'all don't know, those are 90s Fox superhero shows. Steel. If you look at the black superheroes that we were provided, they were campy. They were jokes.
Or one wasn't really a superhero.
Or not really a superhero.
A lot of people like to bring Blade up, being like, Blade came first. Blade came first, but it's an entirely different thing. It's a low-budget horror.
And not only that, Blade didn't face the same reality that I was facing. Okay? Black Panther dealt directly with the plight of the black man in America. Okay? It showed Njobu dealing with what's going on in black America. It showed Killmonger wanting to unleash the spoils of Wakanda on the world for what black people go through across the world. And then it showed at the same time T'Challa's hesitance and the need to rise above it, to not be like the oppressors, to break the circle. And if you don't understand what that movie was saying, let me break it down for you. Very simple. And I don't know who said it. I wish I could remember her name. Forgive me. Look it up and find out who said it. But she said to be black in America is to be in a constant rage. It's to always be angry. That was what Killmonger was. On the flip side, you always try to rise above it. You don't try to let the subtle racism get a hold of you. You don't try to blame the white man for your shortcomings or anything like that. You try to strive on. My son, my youngest son, was so excited when he saw that movie because his words, he looks like me. I mean, he didn't get that. Everybody in this movie who was of our complexion, he could look up to. My daughter, for the longest time, and even still to this day, idolizes Princess Shuri. And that is, for me, more significant. And even like, if you go on significance of the movie to me, it even surpasses Endgame. While Endgame, on a personal level, I saw all my nerddom come to life. I'm still a black nerd. So, Black Panther, I saw my blackness come to life.
I see different people liking or saying is, oh, well, they've had other superheroes before. They list off some of the ones you said. They list off Luke Cage. They list off Blade. And it's not the same. And one of the big differences for Blade is he's a hunter. And it's also lower budget. He's hunting vampires. But in Blade, he's a killer and a crook. He steals all his stuff to fund his job. Luke Cage started as like he was imprisoned and he was experimented on. He was an outlaw, and there's so many, because a lot of the early stuff is all built that way. You get to T'Challa.
He's a king.
He's a king.
He is royalty.
Yeah, it's very different. Like when we go to see Marvel movies these days, is because of his family and he has to wait on his wife. I go with Mel on Saturdays. I with some of my friends, we go see him Thursday night when it came out. When I first saw that movie, and 90% of the time we go to the movie on Saturday together. There's been a couple we missed. But when I saw that movie, I told him, there's no way he's going without me, because I have to see his reactions. And seeing him in that movie, seeing how he reacted to it and his emotions, you could tell more than any other, like, I've seen him when he gets excited and like all into Avengers and into the movies, into the spectacle, but this you could tell was hitting on another level over all of them. And for people who don't have best friends and of people of color or aren't people of color, they have such a lack of understanding that they just can't get it.
Boy, you gotta stop preaching today. You better bring tears in my eyes.
All right.
You hit it.
Now.
All right, hold on. I do got tears in my eyes.
My final one does not have that kind of resonance for you.
It doesn't, but it's still a very good movie, and I do enjoy it.
My last one is what really started me into comics in general. And that wasn't, I didn't even read the comic at the time, didn't know it was a comic, but eventually learned and got into them. But my favorite of the comic book movies that aren't MCU, the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, born in 1984. But I grew up with that movie. All the time, all of the movies, but that's why I have picked up the large figures. That movie, I quote it with my friends all the time. It
really does. Like,
some of my friends, I can tell Mel isn't as into it, like didn't grow up with it in the same way I did, because he doesn't catch all the quotes when I do it.
I don't.
Nemo and I all the time, my friend Nemo, we get in it all the time, especially, I'm really big on doing the pork rind. But it's just, I think it started to teach me the whole, they were brothers, I didn't have a family, or like I'm an only child, so I didn't have the siblings. That's why, similar to when I was bringing up my favorite comic on the Rapid Rambling, it's all about friendship to me, and that's for me, it's my friends are my family.
He's right, y'all. Boy, he preaching today. Roth is preaching today. Whew, boy, put your sermon on. Whew.
So this was really seeing a family, and then of course, you know, you see them fight. You go out in the backyard with your sticks. Played Ninja Turtles all the time growing up.
Did you used to make nunchucks?
Yes.
I did too.
Yes.
Shoestring and random shards of wood.
Nunchucks, the
Katanas. Sides were a bit harder, but
one of my friends had actually. I never had, but it might have been PJ. But one of my friends had the the small plastic sides.
oh wow.
I remember that. I remember going to them, and so for me, it's so emotional because that's what I grew up with. Is the Turtles, for me, when I think the Ninja Turtles, I think my childhood. I mean, my favorite food, I'm boring, but I love pizza, Ninja Turtles pizza. I think a lot of it probably geared along the same route, and I've just, I was a little sad, and at first a little bitter when the new one started coming out, but I finally, in entertainment in general, have gotten past that point. And it might, like, if something doesn't interest me anymore, I just don't go see it. That's why I haven't seen a lot of the DC movies the last few years. Like, and I've accepted that not all movies are for me. Like the new Ninja Turtle movies, the new cartoon show they're putting out, it's for a new generation. It's for new people, and so many people hold on to the old memories thinking everything needs to be the same and redoing it, and it's not. And so I'm not interested in the new stuff. It's not for me, but the old stuff is, especially the movies, because the cartoon I've tried to rewatch, it's
terrible.
It's terrible. But the movies remind me of childhood, and they're fun.
They are.
And
Broomstick bow staffs.
The first one is a legit good movie. 2 and 3,
Guilty pleasures.
especially 3 is a guilty. Like, a lot of people I know don't stand 3 at all, but I like 3. But 2 and 3 are guilty pleasures. 1 is legit good movie.
Number 2, Super Shredder. Ninja rap.
Go Ninja, go Ninja.
Man, come on. But that is our top 5 comic book movies. Got a bit more emotional than I expected. To be expected though, especially with our last choices.
I apparently preached a lot.
You did, bro. You put on it. We will start a new video called Roth's Sermon. Where Roth will stand in the pulpit and preach.
Oh God! No,
So that is our.
That sounds entertaining as hell.
It does. Social media Q&A. Thank you for all the questions.
Ask more.
Yes.
We will do these again. We will, like a week or 2 before we do the next one, do another cry out saying, "Hey, we'll do it." But always ask them, because we don't know what we're going to do for the Rapid Rambling next week. So if you have a new question, we might answer that during the Rapid Ramble.
Next week, our Ramblings and Randomness will be over my favorite video game, Destiny 2. Season of Opulence starts tomorrow. Me and Buddha will be playing through it and giving our reactions, tell you a bit about the game, what we like about it, what we don't like about it. And Thursday,
there is an announcement.
A huge announcement, apparently.
Which we'll probably discuss.
Which we'll definitely discuss. And Roth has no idea what we're talking about. Straight over his head. But, as always, like, subscribe, share, smash that like button. Don't smash it, just hit it once. Like, smashing it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, you might break the keyboard,
right.
That would be bad.
If you just hit the mouse.
Or your phone.
Or mouse.
Or your phone. Yeah, just hit like. We appreciate it. Share this with your friends, family. If you have questions, post them in the comments below. We'll also post links to our Facebook page. I'm getting that up and running, starting on Twitter very soon. And use the hashtag RRWRR, which stands for Ramblings and Randomness with Roth
And Romelio.
Romelio.
I,
Did you just call me Romelio?
no, I said Romelio.
Oh, okay, I'm serious.
But I totally, it was weird that, like, as soon as I was saying it, I was like, you said my name, I seen yours, it's weird.
Yeah, let's do that. It's
Yeah.
our thing now.
Oh,
So, he's Roth.
he's Romelio.
See y'all later.
Oh no, we have an ending.
Oh, we do have an ending now. Oh, what's our ending?
I forget.
Let's film it.
That is the ending. Oh God.
So, join us next week for your weekly dose of R&R with
Roth,
and Romelio.
thank you. Bam, bam, bam. Now,
How much? We have 5-6 minutes.
7
Seven.
minutes.
Oh.
Less than 7.
But that's fine because I just want to get to that point where we can talk, where we can come back and pick up right where we.
I mean, this would be the time. I feel.
Well, let me finish what I was saying, Roth. With what he said about DC getting better, I actually will start my erase all that.
So I like how much we were talking about how the Avengers would kick the JLA's ass, and you're wearing a JLA t-shirt.
Right. Oh man, really need to choose my tire better.
Okay.
Right here.
No, right here. Remember?
Yes,
We did-
that's right.
Yeah. All right.
Rewind.
Well, the Ace Ventura.
Yeah. That was great.
Those movies haven't aged well. Or the first one hasn't aged
I
well.
bet that's very, 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 very offensive.
Yeah. The second one, I mean, as long as you're not offended, because it has the African community. I don't know if that's
I don't remember if I saw
I
the
don't
second one.
remember if it's offensive or not. That you've seen the second one, because that's the one with the whole spears in the legs.
Oh yeah.
That's my favorite bit in those movies.
Yeah.
It's in the bone. It's in the bone. The other big thing I remember when that movie came out, that one specifically was in all the previews when they showed him when they did the White Devil hair on him. I remember being my friends who were like, "You can do Wolverine's hair." That was the big thing. We were like, "You can actually do that in real life."
Wow.